Welcome back, everyone, to Data Science for Everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about action research. Let's get started. Action research is an interactive inquiry process that balances problem solving actions implemented in a collaborative context with data driven collaborative analysis, or research to understand underlying causes enabling future predictions about personal and organizational change. This method is characterized by researchers examining current processes, taking action to improve those processes, and then analyzing the results of the action. The action research model takes an approach that is described as either cyclical or spiral and includes the following stages: identifying problems, action planning, implementation, evaluation, and reflection. Action research usually begins by identifying a problem or issue or when there is a desire to improve practice. The topic in question is often a subject of concern before the idea of conducting research emerges. As with any research activity, you should review all the relevant literature and documentation at this stage. You should also discuss your developing ideas with key informants and experts either in the workplace or from other similar working environments. At this stage, it is easy to see why action research is very close to professional practice. Many people will say, well, we do it this way all the time, this is how it works. Well, that is probably the case. The difference with action research is that the usual daily practice is formalized into a research project that can be written up and presented in order to share your findings. It is often difficult to separate the research from the normal daily routine. You must remember that this is a research study that will be subject to all of the usual scrutiny of robust research. Record everything and demonstrate rigorous analysis of the findings. Casual conversations with colleagues must be formalized into interviews or focus groups. You don't have to alter the way that you interact with these people, but you must ensure that you record what is said and that you are able to present evidence to support decisions you make throughout the process. Another form of data that will be needed at this stage comes from your users. Before designing an intervention, it will be necessary to establish the current context from the perspective of those who will be the target of intervention. This can be done in a number of ways, such as using questionnaires for large groups or establish their current behavior, or opinions, interviews with individuals, focus groups, and observation of behavior in the chosen context and analysis of existing documentary evidence. This data will also be very useful as a benchmark for evaluating the intervention later. Establishing the current situation before making any changes is the only real way to gauge the success of the intervention. The design of the program of intervention is based on analysis of the data gathered in the first stage. There is no predetermined formula for the length or nature of this intervention. It will depend on the number of factors. The analysis of this first stage will provide the evidence needed to design an appropriate intervention. This intervention is a product of a diagnosis and the interpretation of the evidence provided in the first stage, current practice within the subject area, and analysis of the literature. This will suggest possible improvements in relation to the needs of the target group. The planned action could take the form of a single event, a series of events over a period of time, or a more fixed change to the system already in place. The nature of the intervention will in itself be a product of the research process. Once an intervention has been identified and designed, it is to be implemented within the context of the research. The process now moves from the empirical and theoretical arena of the research methods to the practical. Systems analysis is the only other research method that comes close to the practical nature of action research and the actual creation and delivery of a solution. Although, even in systems analysis, the solution usually goes no further than the prototype stage during the research. This may lead to the creation of a complete solution, but this is not a formal step in the process. Only in action research is the delivery of a solution implicit to the method. The form of solution is completely dependent on the context and the nature of the problem. If this is part of the academic research study leading to an award of a degree, the time is a critical factor. Ensure that there is sufficient time allowed to enable you to implement the solution and go on to evaluate and reflect on the research, thereby completing one full cycle of the action research process. This does not have to be the end of the process, and indeed, this is part of your usual working practice. You will no doubt go on to review the situation continually, but you have to be in a position to produce a research report of the activity, including the evaluation and reflection. The reflection will lead to your conclusions and recommendations for ways forward. Both of the timescale and the nature of the solution are critical. The success of the intervention then needs to be examined. This can be done in a number of ways. Interviews or focus groups can be carried out, documents collected, and journals that have been maintained throughout the process can be analyzed. Action research is a cyclical research method. As the results of the analysis, the success of the intervention can be assessed, and more than that, it is possible to go beyond the evaluation of what happened and how it happened to consider why it happened. The researcher reflects on the results of the intervention and the evaluation. This may or may not result in more action, but usually more action will follow. The trustworthiness in action research. There are 5 criteria that can be applied to measures of trustworthiness in action research: democratic validity, outcome validity, process validity, catalytic validity, and dialogue validity. The democratic validity is demonstrated by the extent to which the researcher and the research participants were involved in the process. This means that you would have to be in a position to demonstrate that the collaboration took place and that the research outcome, solution, evaluation, and reflection were all relevant to the setting and context. Outcome validity is demonstrated by the extent to which the intervention resolved the problem that was identified. This judgment is based on the quality of the data on which the action was planned and the evaluation of the action after implementation. Process validity is concerned with the degree to which a process can be aligned to the outcome. There is a need here to demonstrate the evidence gathered can sustain assertions made in the design and implementation of the action. Triangulation of the data collection techniques is applied to ensure that evidence can be corroborated from multiple sources. Catalytic validity is the degree to which the research activity focuses, reorients, and energizes all participants, including the researcher, towards really knowing and understanding their reality in order to change it. This emphasizes the transformative nature of action research. Action research is a power for change, and this should be clearly demonstrated throughout the process. Dialogue validity focuses on communication with peers to establish the relevance and significance of the data collection, design, and implementation of the action and the evaluation. This form of peer review, there is still some debate on the nature and the extent of the dialogue. There is no consensus on whether critical and reflective dialogue should extend to beyond the critical friend or the community of collaborative inquirers to the wider research communities. Action research is a cyclical process involving problem identification, action planning, implementation, evaluation, and reflection. Not only is it an ideal method for a practitioner's research, it could be said that it to be an extension of the professional practice into the form of the research arena. Design, collaboration, documentation, rigorous analysis, and critical self-evaluation and reflection are vital in this approach to research. Data collection techniques best suited to action research are focus groups, interviews, observations, questionnaires, research diaries, and in-house documentation. As a method, action research is ideally suited to the researcher or practitioner. If reflective practice is the stance and dance, then action research is the choreography, and deliberate scripting of the dance is the recognizable research format that can be shared within and beyond the professional community. If you guys like this video, please comment, subscribe, and hit that like button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.